Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1493B, and today's date is February 8th, 2018, and the title of the episode is The Deep State Strikes Back. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, as we can see with the stock market that is moving up and down here, the stock market war is on, and we also see the deep state, well, they're striking back, and the reason for this is they're going to create as much chaos as possible. And there's more and more information coming out. I know the FISA memo, that was the first thing that they released. They're releasing it slowly but surely, and more evidence is coming out about what is really going on here. And I don't think they wanted to shock the American people too hard, so they're releasing information very, very slowly to get people used to the idea that something else was going on in government and these people were responsible. Now, a lot of people are going to be breaking down from this. A lot of people are not going to like it. Remember when you were waking up and you heard the truth and you got angry, you didn't want to believe it. You said, no way, this is impossible, but you did a little bit more research and all of a sudden you became very, very angry about the whole entire system. And then all of a sudden you just started to do more research and you started to accept it and try to explain it to other people, but other people didn't want to hear what you were saying because you didn't sound believable. You sounded like a kook. And now the same thing's happening. If they just let out all this information, people would just ignore it because they think this is crazy conspiracy, and this is what the corporate media is trying to do. They're trying to paint this as a conspiracy theory, propaganda, there's nothing behind it, it's a nothing burger. But as we can see, there's more and more information coming out. For example, the undercover FBI informant William Campbell, he has given a written testimony to congressional investigators after an ironclad gag order was lifted in October. Campbell was a highly valued CIA FBI asset deeply embedded in the Russian nuclear industry, while Robert Mueller was the director of the FBI. Campbell was required by the Russians, under threat, to launder large sums of money, which allowed the FBI to uncover a massive Russian nuclear money laundering apparatus. He collected over 5,000 documents and briefs over a 6-year period, some of which detailed efforts by Moscow to route money to the Clinton Foundation. Campbell claims to have video evidence of bribe money related to the Uranium One deal being stuffed into suitcases. The Obama FBI knew about the bribery scheme, yet the administration still approved the Uranium One deal. To thank him for the service, Campbell was paid $51,000 by FBI officials at a 2016 celebration dinner in Crystal City. When it emerged that Campbell had evidence against the Clinton Foundation, Campbell was slammed as a disaster potential witness because they didn't want him talking. An undercover FBI informant embedded in the Russian nuclear industry was made to sign an illegal NDA by former Attorney General Loretta Lynch. And he has finally given his testimony. Now, what we're seeing here is that these people are now coming forward and they're testifying. And they have evidence, they have documentation, they have information about what has been happening. Now, an extremely important aspect of Campbell's timeline is that the FBI, Obama, Robert Mueller, knew of the bribery scheme with the transportation company before approving the Uranium One deal. And right now, Campbell, he has cancer. He's diagnosed with brain cancer and leukemia. He's undergoing 35 intensive radiation treatments. And it looks like, he's in trouble here. Now, of course, was this done to him on purpose? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But we can see that this information is definitely coming out now, and these individuals, they're very, very nervous. This is why we're going to see a whole lot of chaos happen throughout the Middle East, North Korea, here in the United States, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And what they're doing right now is they're building up the fear-mongering against Russia. And they keep bringing up all these stories. For example, they're saying that Russia penetrated the U.S. voter systems in America during the 2016 presidential election. And we have DHS, who's out there, saying that Russia was targeting 21 states. And they were targeting these states, but they really didn't get into the system, and they really didn't do anything to, sway the elections either way. Now, I have a question for them. How did they know it was Russia? Because we know DHS, they were trying to hack into states' election systems. They were called out on it. And once again, do you really think Russia, if they were going to hack the election system, would do it from Russia? Would use malware that has to do with Russia? Would use an IP address that has to do with Russia? Now, they're much smarter than that. I mean, think about it right now. They're able to fly one of their jet planes over an Aegis ship, a U.S. Aegis ship in the Black Sea, and shut it down completely. But while they were trying to hack into the election system, they used their own IP addresses, they left breadcrumbs in the malware or whatever they were using to hack, and everything led back to Russia. Does that make any sense? No. This is how you know this is propaganda. Because a state actor would never do this. What they're doing is they're trying to build up the idea that Russia actually did this, but didn't change the election, so Russia is responsible. They're still going down the path of Russia, Russia, Russia. We see that North Korea, they are not looking to start a war, and the United States is not looking to attack North Korea. U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis has denied the probability of war with North Korea. He says, as far as the situation with Korea, it is firmly in the diplomatic lane. We're in talks right now. They are visiting South Korea for the Olympics. They have representatives there. South Korea and North Korea want to have peace. If the United States, the deep state, the cabal, stays out of this, they will have peace. And this is what Russia and China wants. This is what North Korea and South Korea wants. The only country that doesn't want this is the deep state, the United States, which is still controlled partially by the deep state. They don't want this. Now, we see something happen out in Syria. Now, we know that Russia, the Syrian armed forces, they've demolished the Islamic State. And we know that the deep state has been airlifting the Islamic State to Afghanistan. And they've been protecting the Islamic State. This has been done way before Trump. This has been done during the Obama administration. We talked about this in length, where the Islamic State is the paid mercenary of the deep state. You have to remember that. They're the paid mercenary of the deep state. They do their bidding. They're supported. They get paid. They get the weapons. Same thing with Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and all the other terrorist groups. And of course, yes, the CIA, intelligence agencies, they're involved in this. Now, all over the news, they're putting out the idea that the Syrian forces attacked the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is the paid mercenary group that the deep state uses to say that, yes, these are the Syrian freedom fighters who want peace and they want Assad out of power. They just created these groups. Actually, the Syrian Democratic Forces was just recently created out of thin air, just like they create the currency out of thin air. But what we're seeing right now is they're saying that the U.S. coalition carried out an alleged defensive attack against the pro-government forces in the northeastern countryside of Deir ez-Zor. And the U.S. claimed 100 pro-regime fighters were killed in the attack. Now, according to the military source, the pro-government forces that were attacked by the U.S. coalition were members of the large al-Baraka tribe, who have fought the so-called Islamic State in the Euphrates River Valley for years. And of course, this information is coming from an anonymous source, and right now the whole thing's kind of sketchy. And we also know that Israel, they launched an attack on the Syrian military facility where they say they created the gas weapons that Assad is using. We know this is completely fake, phony, and false. They just flew in there because they're trying to get a war started with Syria. And of course, Syria is out there saying that this attack on the Syrian armed forces is a war crime. Remember, the United States was never invited into Syria. The United States, the deep state, they invaded this country. Iran was invited. Russia was invited. It's a sovereign country with an elected leader. This is really an act of war. When another country invades a country and takes over land, this is an act of war. Now, Mattis is out there, and he says it's perplexing. Adding additional information did not reveal any Russian forces among the attackers. Why they chose to initiate this attack, well, you'll have to ask them. Now, what's confusing about this whole thing is that nobody really knows what happened there. Now, Russia is saying, well, this is what they believe happened here from the reports that they're getting from Syria. The pro-government Syrian militiamen have come under attack by the U.S.-led coalition while they were conducting an operation against the Islamic State terrorists north of the city of Deir ez-Zor. The information about the incident contradicts U.S. claims that the Syrian militias attacked Washington allies. First of all, how can 500-strong unit attack a headquarters with the support of tanks, artillery, and injure only one of the attackers? This is coming from Zakharova during a briefing. She said, how could the people inside the headquarters be able to survive in these conditions for at least a half an hour that is needed for aviation to arrive at the scene? How could a decision to open a massive fire to defeat the Syrian militiamen be made in such a short period of time? What she's saying is that this was planned. This was planned by the deep state. The deep state wants us to get into war. They're attacking on purpose. Now, a lot of people are going to say, no, this is Trump. He's doing this. So let's see. And let's back up for a second. Trump removed the funding for the moderate rebels, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the Kurd armed forces. He removed all the funding. He actually had the U.S. destroy the Islamic State in Syria. And he actually spoke to Putin and said that Assad is the elected leader of Syria. It's a sovereign country. Then he decided that he was going to attack the Syrian armed forces. I mean, does that really make any sense? No. What is happening here is that we have two sides in the same country. Now, people say, well, how could that be? He has full control. Really? So let's go back a little bit further. If he really does have full control, how were there leaks in the government when he came into office? How is the corporate media pushing the Russian collusion against Trump when it really doesn't exist? How is there a special counsel, which is Mueller, in there investigating when there's nothing to investigate if Trump is truly in power? He's not in power. How is the intelligence agencies hiding all this information? Because he's not truly in power. He doesn't have full control, especially what is going on in the Middle East. And remember, there are many other countries that are with the deep state. They're not with Trump. They're with the deep state. And they're still pushing their agenda in these areas. Think about it. When he bombed the base in Syria, fired those missiles, Russia was warned, Syria was warned, the base was empty, a lot of the missiles didn't even make it, destroyed nothing, the base was open in an hour. At that point, what was the purpose of that? Why didn't he invade? That was the perfect time. Why wait until the Islamic State is completely annihilated? Why remove the funding from the Kurds if he's trying to separate Syria into Kurdish and whatever Assad's going to have? Why do that? What they're doing right now is they're battling it out inside of Syria. Russia, part of the Pentagon, they're working to remove the Islamic State. We then have the deep state with the intelligent operatives still in Syria, pushing their agenda with the Syrian Democratic Forces, with Al-Qaeda, with whatever Islamic State soldiers are left. They're still pushing their agenda inside there. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get a war started. Basically, they're striking back and they're trying to create chaos in this region. Now, Russia is out there saying these zones around the military base Al-Tanf, they're using these zones to basically protect the Islamic State. Now, we know Obama, the intelligence agencies, they've been protecting the terrorist groups all along. They airlift them out, they move them around, and basically right now, the Trump administration is actually really going after them. Russia's really going after them, trying to get rid of them. And we see right now that the Iraqi soldiers were really trying to fight the Islamic State, except the deep state was holding them back, giving them false information, and this is why they were always losing the battles. But now we see things are changing. But the deep state is trying to create chaos in the region, trying to make it look like, yeah, we want war. And this is why Mattis came out and said, listen, we're not looking for any type of confrontation. But he did mention that, yes, if you fire upon the U.S., and this was all talk to let everyone know that, we're strong and don't come after us and things like that, which they know that Russia's not going to do that. They know that Syria's not going to do that. He's out there saying that we don't want a confrontation with Russia, with Syria. We don't want this. Now, they're not going to come out to the American public say, hey, listen, our armed forces are divided. We have intelligent people on the ground. They're working for this agenda. We're working for that agenda. People would not know what is going on. And even if you mention that these terrorists aren't really terrorists, they're paid mercenaries controlled by the U.S., by Israel, the coalition forces, people are going to freak out because they truly do believe that there are terrorists out there and they're coming to get us. Hopefully not as many as there was before, but there are still people out there that do believe this. So what they're doing right now, the deep state is striking back. They're using the stock market. They're creating chaos in the Middle East. They'll be creating chaos in North Korea. And we're going to see this ramp up as time goes on, because more and more of this information is coming out. The deep state is worried. Their backs are against the wall. They know as they keep gathering more and more data on all these individuals and they keep putting it out there, guess what? Eventually the corporate media is going to have to start to say, you know something? We can't look the other way. Even though the intelligence agencies, even though the deep state is telling us, the American public is starting to realize that we have a problem. These people are criminals. Now, is it going to happen all at once? Maybe it won't happen at all. But we can see this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to continually push facts out there. It's the only way you can do it. You only can push facts, testimony, facts, documentation, not propaganda. And this is what they're continually doing. It makes it harder and harder for them to argue. Right now, they're still using propaganda. Right now, they're still using emotion. Right now, they're trying to, protect the deep state. The deep state is still controlling the corporate media. Not all of the corporate media, but a lot of it still. And we can see right now, this is going to be going on for quite a while. Now, again, QAnon said, listen, there could be a major false flag. And he did this in all caps. And this was a reason for this. Because we can see right now, as this chaos continues, they will push a major false flag to try to distract from all of this. And this is going to have to be something pretty darn large. Because it can't be, a little shootout, because that will only stay in the news for a couple of days. And then boom, we're back to the stories. They need something like 9/11, where everyone forgets about everything. And I believe that if we get to that point, they will use some type of major false flag. I think it's already planned out. I think they already know what they're going to do. I think they're just waiting for the right moment. And maybe those individuals who are working for the patriots in government, maybe they will be able to stop them before it happens if they get enough intelligence. Remember, right now, those individuals under the Trump administration, it's not just Trump doing all this, there's patriots there. They have the data, they have the information. They know what's going on. That's why QAnon says we see all, we hear all, because they have all the data. It's the same exact equipment they were using, I'm talking about the deep state, they were using to spy on everyone else. Now, it's being used on them. So, hopefully, they can get, the information of what they're attempting to do and stop it or make everything go south before they actually are able to do it. And this is what we're looking at. And we know that the Olympics start tomorrow. And we know that something might occur in this region. Something might happen out in Syria. These are the two hot spots. Maybe even Ukraine. Don't know as of yet. But we can also see something might happen here in the United States. If something happens in the United States, this will clog the news feeds for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I believe this is something that they would really, really like. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.